Hello and welcome to the Perth Gaming Crew Show, episode 21. We've been off for a couple of weeks, but we are back. Pat, how you doing?
Yeah, good thanks. Good thanks. Feel like I haven't seen you in ages, mate. How are you going?
On good. I'm loving that it's actually sunny, even though it's
Oh,
winter in
dude.
Perth. This is what I love about Perth. So
Yeah.
super happy. So people of Perth and listeners and beyond, we are, to our disgrace, well aware that we have not covered indie games yet, and we are 21 episodes in. So the people of Perth have yelled at us and demanded that we cover our favorite indie games, which we are going to do today. We might make this a two-parter because there's just so much to cover within the limited amount of time. But Pat and I are going to go through about 4 or 5 of our favorite indie games that are across different platforms. Before we do, for those of you who are kind of noobs in this sense, who don't know much about indie games or want to kind of get what does an indie game mean to us? What is it? Is it a small game, a big game, whatever? We might just go through what that is first and why we love our indie games, and then rattle some titles off. Pat, what do indie games mean to you?
That's it. Yeah, so indie games, I guess. So I'm sure our viewers have heard of the term indie before, whether it be to do with music or like film, where you got your indie music or you got indie film. It's pretty much just short for independent. So it applies the same thing. The same logic applies for video games. So it's like, I guess it's like an independently developed video game that's outside of what we call the AAA, which are like, it has the backing of like a major publisher and things like this, so like Skyrim and all that. Indie games tend to be a little bit more, at least in my opinion, I feel like they're a little bit more free because they don't have the shackles of having to cater to, the requirements of big publishers. So they can
Mm.
be a bit more experimental in their gameplay. They can literally, they most likely focus on innovation and they take risks that you can't really do when when you have Microsoft breathing down your neck. You can't just be like, hey, I think we're going to try this for gameplay. We're going to make players do this, and Microsoft's probably going to be like, no, because that's
Hmm.
not going to make us any money.
You need to keep
Um,
making Halo, please, and
yeah,
Forza. You can't stop.
yeah. So yeah, more often than not, indie games don't have a lot of financial backing, so they're not really going to be the most technical or graphically beautiful because they're working on a very very tight budget, but they have a certain charm about them that when done correctly, I personally feel like I love indie games more than I do triple A's, and I tend to purchase indie games more than I do triple A's, only because at the price point they come with on a
Mm.
on a if they're on sale, you can get like five for like $10. So,
Mm.
and they're cute, they're charming. More often than not, they're good gameplay because that's what they focus on, and a lot of the times they just pick up and plays.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to
That's
me,
like that's like
and
exactly it, dude. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I was going to say you're supporting. You're supporting a small group of programmers or developers,
Hmm.
and you know that every little bit you do for them helps.
Yeah, yeah, so true, dude. That is absolutely nail on the head. Like indie games, just those tiny games, and sometimes it's like a one person or what 3 person development team,
Yeah, exactly.
super tiny budget. Sometimes they take a long time, sometimes they're short too. But yeah, it's just not that big AAA experience. Like you can't go
Mm.
into an indie game expecting like God of War or Breath of the Wild
Yeah,
or all that
exactly,
stuff.
exactly.
But we love them. Like I feel like they're a palate cleanser sometimes, or they a lot of them do the whole 2D retro thing where you just like,
Yep.
oh, I just want to go back to my childhood, and the indie developers are all over that. There are some fantastic games. So let's start with some. So might kick it off here. One of my favorites, one of the first. Was one that
Oh,
I bought when I first bought my Nintendo Switch. I think I bought Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Mario Kart 8, and I was like, what's an indie game I can get into? This is it. This is Golf Story. Have you heard of this one, Pat?
I absolutely have. This game is amazing. This game is
Yeah.
amazing. If viewers, you have not played this, you got to pick this shit up.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like I don't even like golf. I don't even like golf. I'm gonna
Yeah, me
come
too.
right out there and say, yeah.
But it's not a lot of golf going on here. It's kind of like, okay, so what this is like an RPG, but with golf in between. Like there's actual like
Yeah.
golf matches and golf related tasks. I think like I'm like Pat, like I'm not big into sports game, not golf. I don't even understand what's going on there. But this, like the mechanics feel really good. Like it feels
Yeah.
really good when you
Oh
just narrow
yeah.
it down, you tap it, and the ball spins and bounces off things and goes towards like the hole. You're like, oh, it just with any video game, if the actual mechanics feel really like sound and crunchy, that's what this game is. And it's so good too because it's like Aussie developed. So the developer's called Sidebar Games. This came out quite a while ago, 2017. I think it's across
Hmm.
multiple platforms now. And it's Aussie to the core. So if you're not Australian and you want to like look into our culture, totally check this out. You can go like heat up a meat pie if you
Yeah.
want to.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. You can
Absolutely.
go down to the beach and there's just like a bunch of like bogans like hanging around and stuff like that. But I love it. Like it's so
It's
funny.
so good. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't take itself seriously.
No.
Like there's so many jokes poking fun at itself. Like it's just full of jokes in general. Like you said, the gameplay is crisp. It's very easy to control. Like the story is cute.
Yeah.
Graphics are super super charming as you can see.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
beautiful game. Like uh, like
Yeah.
um yeah, like John said, like I don't like he doesn't like golf. I definitely don't like golf. I don't care what any of you say out there. I think it's boring as hell.
We
Like,
ain't playing
but
golf on this channel, man.
yeah, no, we're not. But this game made me like golf for the duration that I was playing. I was like,
Yeah.
this is really fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just and like, yeah, it's just such a good game.
Yeah, it's like it really is. It's like a top tier indie game, I think. Like it's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's fun. It's easy to pick up and play. It's very cruisy. It's not dull. Like it's you
Yeah.
just get hooked on the whole golf mechanic. Like you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
like you might do things like hit turtles into the river or something like that just to return them to their natural habitat. It
Yeah.
just it's really sweet. So yeah, golf story. It's I don't know how much it's gone for now. I know on Switch it's probably like $20 or $30, but on Steam it's probably like $1.50 on
No
sale,
way.
something like.
Yeah.
Well, not quite, but Sidebar Games, local studio, go support local peeps, and if you're not from Perth, hey, go support us too. But we are on to the next one. The next one is for Pat. We've got
Oh,
footage
this
coming
is
up now.
mine.
So
This
what
is
is this, Pat?
mine.
I don't know this game. So what's going on
This
here?
is mine. So this game is called Neon Abyss. It's basically like I don't know if it will come up with it. Yeah, so as you can see, there is a platformer, but it's a roguelike. So basically, I don't for all of you out there that don't know what a roguelike is, um, it's basic. Oh, actually, no, this is not a full roguelike. Would this be called a roguelite?
It looks, I don't know. It looks like there's a lot going on. It looks almost like a bullet hell shooter as
It,
well,
it
to some
is. It is.
extent.
It is
Ah,
a little bit.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It is a
So,
little bit of a bullet hell.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I guess
Roguelite, whatever. Yeah.
roguelite, run and gun. As you can see there, it's a side
Hmm.
scroller, 2D, and yeah, like I said, run and gun, dungeon crawling. Basically, every time you start a game up, the dungeons or the levels are procedurally generated, so they're different every time. Your power ups are different every time, so you have to explore the rooms and get,
Is he
you
shooting
see the
dead fish
different
there,
guns.
Pat? Like, was he
Yeah, yeah.
shooting?
It's like again another
Okay.
game that yeah, it's like the different guns. You can get different guns as you can see there. The combinations of guns and power ups and stuff you get are endless. So like you can literally just anytime you pick it up and you play, it will not be the same. So you can
No.
play, you just keep playing it, and that's literally what a roguelike is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. This looks like
um,
quintessential roguelike. Why does this like
it,
because there's heaps of them out there. Why do you like this one? Is it just one of the ones that hooked you, or is it the style or what? Like 'cause
I
it's got
I
a
just
cool
love.
ass like visual style.
Yeah, yeah, I just love like so it's full of humor, much like Golf Story. It doesn't take itself seriously. It makes fun of itself by
Yeah.
comparing it to other indie games where, for example, you're talking to the boss there on the couch.
Hmm.
Um, he's gonna take the piss and be like, "Look, man, the people that developed us, we were really running low on budget, so we have like we didn't get to create as many levels or power ups as we want. And then he would say something like, "We're not like Hades," and Hades is a
Hmm.
very, very popular indie game that is like, it's
Hmm.
just fleshed out. So he would just compare Neon Abyss to like other games, but dude, this game has everything. Literally, you can pick it up for $10.
Cool.
Um, you can pick it up for $10. It even has like Pokemon sort of pet elements because you can like crack eggs and the different like Pokemons give you power ups. It's so quirky. Like, did you see the
There's a
dance?
lot going on. There's like dancing,
Yeah,
and there's lasers, and there's
yeah, it's so
it's
quirky. Like,
yeah.
yeah, there is a dance room where you just dance, and then if you press the right keys, you get a power up. Like, oh man, it's just for $10. For $10, this game is insanely good.
Nice,
Um,
nice. Neon Abyss,
yeah,
eh?
yeah. It's on the Switch as well. It's on all platforms, as you can see there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's free. It's a freaking fantastic game. Like, if you get it on sale, I promise you, it is worth it. Just real good fun. Like, play it
yeah.
for 5 minutes, play it for 10, play it for 2 hours. You can absolutely do all of that because it is a roguelite, and it's a
Nice.
platformer. So yeah, it's freaking amazing. Pixel graphics, really bright and vibrant, as
Yeah.
it stands to the name of Neon.
Love the
So
colors, love the neon look,
yeah,
love that. Like
yeah,
contrast the colors. Yeah.
exactly. So as you can see, the bullet hell, it's a good challenge, it's good fun. Oh, I love it. I could talk about this game for literally forever.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll move on to the next one. This looks cool. I've never heard of this. I'm interested in this. Oh god, there's so many good ones. We're definitely doing a two-parter for this
Yeah.
episode. All right. Speaking of roguelikes, I've got one up my sleeve, also from
Oh,
an
I
Aussie
know this
developer.
game.
Slight.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Not many people do. So, this is Crawl, and it's from another Aussie developer. Hey, a little biased, forgive me. I genuinely love it. It's genuinely in my top five. From Powerhoof Studios. So this is like a roguelite, but I don't even know how to explain what's going on. Yeah. So you play hero. It can be multiplayer. When you die, the other people can take over and become the hero. And the aim of the game is to get to the bottom of the dungeon and fight the boss, which sounds quite straightforward. But through this process, you're constantly turning into monsters if you're another player. See, that's like what you're seeing there. You can choose a different monster, and then you're fighting the player. And you just repeat this process going through different rooms where there's traps, where there's spells, until you get to like level 10, I think. And that's the dungeon where you can open a portal to the boss. And then when you fight the boss, when you're not the player character, you're the ghost character, which turns into monsters for the other 2 or 3 players, because it's up to 4 players. You can control the boss's limbs, like it's like laser eyes, or it's giant fist coming through the roof. This game is insanely chaotic,
It
but
looks like it.
it's it's pretty fast. There's a lot going on. It is a lot of fun though. This is probably one of the best couch co-op games. It's if you're into Dungeons and Dragons or you're into fantasy kind of stuff, it's a lot of fun. And the funniest thing is you can choose the god that you pray to give you a kind of like bonus at the start of the game. One of them was Tony Abbott, and it goes like eater of onions. So, and it's like, I love it. I love it. They were all over it. So yeah, this game just has that impact. Like I was saying about Golf Story, where it just feels really good to play.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like Neon Abyss in that way, where it's like, it just feels really good to play and a great time with friends. But yeah, Pat, have you played this one? Just
I
seen this
haven't.
one?
I've known about it, and I kind of fell off under my radar because the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, this is a game I'm definitely going to play."
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it fell off my radar. But as soon as I saw the art and then the name, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yes."
So cool. Hey. All right. Well, we're going to slow things down a little bit, but that's Crawl. Fantastic on heaps of platforms, super cheap, great couch co-op. Pat has a particularly special one that he wanted to talk about, so we're
Yes,
bringing that up now.
this is
Tell us
it.
what the valley. Bring us to the valley, Pat.
Bring us to the valley, indeed. All right, this again. This is a prime example of like an indie game that is, I reckon, gives triple A's a run for their money, not because of like,
Oh, be
yeah,
cool.
Oh, mate, not because of production style, not because of graphics, as you can see, but just like actual just gameplay and just
Mm,
knowing. I guess just knowing what draws, knowing your audience is what I should say.
mm.
So, as you guys can see there, it is for anybody that's grown up in similar times to John and I. Um, and you played a game called Harvest Moon. This is literally like Harvest Moon on crack. So you do like, oh, the game is called
It looks
Stardew
pretty.
Valley. The
It
game is called
looks.
Stardew Valley. The game
It
is called. It needs
does
no
look pretty
introduction.
slow. It looks kind of slow paced though. Like it doesn't look intense though.
It
Like it
is.
looks
It
like
is slow
kind of
paced.
very chill and relaxed. And
It is slow paced. So
yeah.
what it is yeah. Again, the game is called Stardew Valley. Very similar to Harvest Moon, where you create your own character firstly, and then you inherit some type of farm, and then your entire purpose is literally, to be honest, whatever you want. But like
Hmm.
like you can, as you saw there, you can fight monsters. So you can go to the mines and you can keep going down the mines. It acts as sort of a it acts as a roguelike part of the game where each level the mines are different. And then you just keep going down, 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 down until you get to the very bottom. You can focus on raising your farm by literally buying crops, planting them, taking care of them. You can buy chickens, you can get eggs, but your goal is to, honestly, again, whatever you want. Like you don't have to do all of that. Like there's quests around the town to make it. You can help restore some buildings together. There's flourish. There's an overarching story that you can follow. You can get married. You can date. You can have babies. Like, oh man, this game is fantastic. And the best part is casual. There is literally no pressure to do anything. There's like random events that happen in the calendar, like kind of like not really Christmas, but there's like harvesting festivals where the whole town gathers. You just talk to everyone. You have a dance. You can date if you really want. Like, oh,
How
it's
does
just
like if you have kids, what does that do? Like, can you make your kid? What I want to know as a parent is, can I have kids just so that I can make them work on my farm and do what I want them to do?
absolutely you can. You
Okay,
can.
good,
You
good,
can.
excellent, good.
No, you can have pets. You can have a cat. Oh, it's just like a life sim. It's like a casual life sim, but like you can look after your farm. Like potato. I'm telling you, for anyone that wants to play it, potatoes. That's a life hack. As soon as you can plant potatoes, you start harvesting that shit.
Starchy carbs for the win, just like real
Yeah,
life.
you sell
Okay.
them. You sell them, and
Oh,
it makes
nice.
you a ton of money. Yeah, you can go fishing. You can go exploring. Like as you can see there, that person is plotting the land. This guy's
Hmm.
planting seeds. Oh, it's like, and you can build your own farm. Build fences, expand your house, get a mansion.
Can
It's
you can you be derailed? Like I know a lot of people
oh
play life
yeah.
sim games like this because they're like they don't want to be derailed. They're like, oh, I want to know that everything's going well, or is that like a risk here, or what?
What you mean by derailed? Sorry.
Like, as in, like they can like come back to the game and their farms, like all their
Oh
crops
yeah.
are dead, all their neighbors are gone, like all the
Yeah. Oh no,
chickens
it
have.
pauses. It pauses. So like
Oh,
when
okay,
you
okay,
yeah when you log off, it saves your progress,
yeah,
and then that's it. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not like a rolling. If
okay,
you're out
cool,
of there, like time still passes, kind of thing. Like you can
okay.
log off. Yeah, you can log off. Oh, it's great. Like I'm sure for the gamers out there who listen to us, Stardew Valley does not need any introduction. Like even if you look at the Nintendo eShop now, I can guarantee you Stardew Valley is probably still in the top 10 of like downloaded games.
Yeah, probably is, man. Actually, hot question for you on that. For
Mm,
people who have played Animal Crossing, and that's
yeah,
just been system seller big time.
yeah.
How would you compare the two? Like, would you say there's something in this
Oh,
game
it's
to go to into this game if you played Animal Crossing?
yeah. I mean, if you're an Animal Crossing fan, 100% you will love this game. There's probably features in Animal Crossing that is not in Stardew Valley and vice versa, but they both have their own charms. I personally prefer Stardew Valley because, as you guys know, if you've been listening to this podcast, is that I love retro. I like retro graphics. I love pixel graphics. I love the charm that it brings. I love how vibrant everything is, as you can see there. I love this little 2.5D sort of isometric kind of view. These are the games I grew up playing, so I have a special. It has a special place in my heart for all of them. So anything I see that is like this, like Golf Story, immediately I'm like, oh, yep, this is right up my alley. So the moment I saw Golf Story, it has this stuff. Like you can see the similarities. Like it has the same sort of vibrant colors. It's got that top-down sort of view. Uh,
Lovely art style. It's kind of like
yeah,
the Super
absolutely.
Nintendo days, but
Yeah,
more. It's got more. I don't know. It's just more clarity, visual clarity to it. Really
that's
lovely
exactly right.
detail.
That's exactly right. It is like
Yeah.
Super Nintendo days, but it's a lot more crisp with obviously because better technology. But that's what draws me
Stardew
in.
Valley. That's just Stardew Valley.
Oh, it's great.
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Hmm.
Oh, I should say it's also co-op. So you like you
Oh,
and your
cool.
friends, yeah, you and your friends can play online. You can play next to each other. You can start up a farm together. It's great.
That's kind of cool. I didn't realize. So it's couch co-op too. You mean like couch co-op
Um,
too, or
Not
online co-op?
necessarily
Okay.
couch
Okay.
co-op because I
Okay.
think you need to have different. Like you both need to have the game.
Okay.
But I mean, you can play next to each other
That's
on
cool
your own
though.
switches, or you play
Go-
online.
Yeah, I was going to say you could have like someone PC, one Switch, or you're both
Yeah,
doing handheld Switch or Steam Deck or whatever, and that's really cool.
it's
Uh,
cool. It's a great game.
awesome. All right, well we are on to the next one. So this is more of an apology to the Castlevania fans who we've
Hey.
burned numerous times on this show by labeling Castlevania as like a dog's breakfast of the game because it's
What?
hard. Because it's well, I mean, I've said that. I'm pretty sure because
Yeah,
I
I was
just
gonna say I don't think I've said that.
I own that I have a mixed love hate relationship with the Castlevania series. So look, I so this is Curse of the Moon 2. So this was done by like one of the original developers for Castlevania. I've forgotten his name. I did have it. I've lost it. This is kind of like it's done by Inti Creates, and it's kind of like a love letter to the Castlevania series. Slightly different title, but very much the same basic core mechanics where you're exploring a castle or there's kind of gothic scented
Hmm.
environments. And it's particularly reminiscent of Castlevania 3, where you can have multiple characters.
Hmm.
I've chosen the second one, so I do like I've played both. I've chosen the second one just because the second one has a bit more replay value and an extended life. Like I think with indie games, a lot of them are wonderful, but sometimes they're super short. Like you do like an
Hmm.
hour or two, and you
Hmm.
can be like, "Oh, that was a phenomenal experience," but you're like, "Oh, I just wanted one more hour, 2 more hours," and that's this kind of game, I think. So yeah, this is for those of you who are familiar with Castlevania or are looking to get into that experience, this is a great this is a really good opportunity for me. I It's not necessarily the Castlevania pacing that I like about this game. I still find these games a bit sluggish. Yeah, a bit brutal when you're jumping and falling down.
Hmm.
But I love the art style. I love the gothic kind of visual presentation and the bosses. They just look so beyond cool. And of course, I don't know, Pat, if you've seen like there's like a Netflix series on Castlevania. So this came
There
out
is
around
beautiful.
yeah. Oh, it's incredible. So this
It's
came out around the
incredible.
same time. So it's kind of like, oh, you watch that and you're like, I want to go back and play some
Mm.
modern day Castlevania games. But yeah, this is a really great game to pick up. There is another one, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is more AAA, like it's still indie developed with bigger production values. Have a look at that. But for me, yeah, I like this one. It's just pick up, go through your rooms. You can make progress pretty quickly.
Hmm.
It's contrasting colors are lovely.
It looks like there's so many different characters as well that you can play.
Yeah. There's kind of there's four, and then there's the original ones from the first game in there, and they're all really different. Like one of the standout ones is like this dog called Haichi, who's like a little puppy, and he's in like a robot. So he's actually like the strongest
Okay.
character, and he just like flies around the screen. He can rip up. And look, that's a good point you mentioned
What's him
because
right
there
there?
is Haichi. Yeah, there he is. He's like a train. Look, I don't know what he is. I don't know how to explain that, but you can see he's tearing it up. The good thing is, like, you do need to switch between characters to get through different obstacles. There might be like a gap that
Mm.
you can only get through if you've got a character that can turn into a bat and fly.
Mm.
There is a character who's a sniper, so he can crawl through little gaps down the bottom and
Mm-hmm.
go up and down like ledges. It's cool. It's really cool that way. Again, it's not like mechanically amazing fighting and
Mm-hmm.
combat like Dead Cells or Hollow Knight, but it's
Mm-hmm.
if you
Mm-hmm.
want that Castlevania experience, or if you found like I did, so I bought the original Castlevania collection when it came out, when it was remastered as a collection for modern consoles, and I found that hard to get into because I remember playing as a kid and I didn't like it. And I tried again. I was like, oh,
It was
it's
hard.
still clunky. It's still a bit clunky for modern day standards, but this game has a lot of the features that lets you kind of like it just feels more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks great. I've never actually played either of the Curse of the Moons. Would you recommend I get them for the right price or just get
I
them?
think so. I would get one of them. Like, and the stories, like, you don't need to play the first before you play the
Okay,
second.
because I was going to ask because I'm the type of person where like if
Yeah,
there is a two, oh, like I have to play the one first. Like
yeah.
I can't just jump into it.
Interesting, interesting. Well, I mean, you could play two and you wouldn't really know because there's a very light story here. It's not terrible. It's just
Okay.
light because that's what it's like. These games, it's still like really interesting. I mean, you'd get the first one and you'd have a really good time.
Mm,
And then if
mm,
you're like, oh, I love this, get the second because you know you're in for a bit
mm,
more, like a bit
mm,
more
mm.
depth. Yeah, but that's Castlevania Curse of the Moon 2. And that is my apology to all of our Castlevania fans out there who were like, don't rant on Castlevania. I don't hate it. I'm just calling it for what it
Oh
is.
shit.
This is our next one,
Okay.
though. Pat, talk me through this one. I've never
Oh
seen this one, and I
yes.
think it's been out for a while. But what is
Oh
this? What are we looking
yes. This is what we are talking about. There you go. This game is
at? Really
called
excited, are we?
yeah. This game is called Project Zomboid.
Yeah.
As you can see there, it is basically a survival game. There you go. He's getting mobbed by zombies. This game, even though for the graphics that you can see there, this game is hyper realistic. So, like for example, if you smash a window and you crawl through it, you will get hurt because you will probably get cut by glass. So
Oh.
you have to think about everything. So for example, yeah, again that if you smash the window, you either have to go right click and put a cloth over, or you have to clean the glass before you crawl through it. So like you have to, it's like resource management as well. You have to look after your hunger. You have to look after your thirst. If you're running around in the rain and it's cold, you're most likely going to get sick and you will probably die unless, you have pharmaceuticals. If you run, so your field of vision is like a triangle like this. So even though it's like a top-down isometric like this, it does not necessarily mean you can see everything around you
Oh,
because
that's brutal
you,
because usually that
yeah,
isometric view lets you
yeah,
see everything, and you're like, I'm
correct,
fine.
yeah,
Oh,
gives
that
you a
is
false
brutal, dude.
gives you a false sense of security. So
Oh, wow.
obviously, if you're running around in the nighttime, you are an idiot because you will get mobbed by zombies and you will die. If you fire a gun, it makes a lot of noise and you will attract zombies and you will die. So like basically anything that you won't do in real life in a real zombie apocalypse, do not do in this game. But it's like base building as well. So you can find a house, you can fortify it, you can play with your friends. I believe it works by servers, so you can join servers. I believe there is an active like kind of big server where lots of people play because it's not it's not beginner friendly in
It,
that
it doesn't look friendly to anyone. It
no,
looks
it's not beginner.
like you're getting mobbed and eaten
Yeah,
alive.
it's not beginner friendly. So like when you open doors, you got to be careful because there could be a zombie that pops out. If you get bit and you're playing with people, you have to let them know because
Oh,
you can actually hide it.
can
But
you,
because
can you like not let them know and be like, oh, cool,
yeah,
dude.
you
Like,
can be that
every time
asshole.
just come up
Yeah,
to
you can be that asshole and
that,
just be
that
like, "Yeah,
person.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm
Oh.
fine, guys. Don't worry." Um, you can right click on your friends. You can right click on your friends and click inspect, and then you will see their status, whether or not they have lacerations, they have cuts. You can see if because it's not
Oh,
immediate. So if
wow.
you get bit by a zombie, it will just say, "Oh, you're bitten," or you're like, your forearm is lacerated, or like your torso's got a wound. You can dress it up, you can bandage it, but it can fester. And then
Oh,
over the course of 3 days, you will find out whether or not you start becoming a zombie, and then your friends have to put you out of your misery, and then you're out.
Have you like played this with friends or just
I have,
totally
yeah.
inspected us when you're like, oh, I believe you, but I don't really? Have you still inspected
Yeah,
them?
yeah,
That's-
absolutely. Because you're just like, what the dude? Yeah, I saw you get bit, bro. Like, stop
Don't
lying.
lie to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's such good fun if you're playing with
Yeah.
friends. Because yeah, like you can do anything. It's a massive, massive world. You have to one of the first things you have to do because you've only got a set amount of time. I mean, you can set the world rules, but before you join, but more often than not, you've got about 2 weeks, I think, before water and electricity get turned off. So you start like from the beginning. One of the first things you do is find out how the hell you're going to harvest water and how the hell you're going to keep electricity going. Whether it be you find a generator, you start harvesting rainwater, purifying it, and things like this. So it's a really cool game, really fun game, really immersive despite the graphics. You got to think about everything. Wear a jacket when it's raining outside.
Oh,
If it's cold,
really?
yeah, if it's cold outside, put a lot of clothes on because you will get sick. If it's hot, take your clothes off. But obviously, if you take your clothes off, less protection from zombies, etc.,
You can
etc.
go
So
fishing too. You can go
you can go
fishing.
fishing. Yeah, you can go fishing. You can do whatever you like in this game. Like I said, hyper realistic. Look, he's driving a car there. If your car breaks down in the middle of the woods, you are absolutely fucked. So
That does not
yeah,
look good. That looks
no,
awful.
yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, you got to be careful.
can
You
you
can
win?
take.
Can you win this
There
game,
is
Pat?
there is
Like,
no winning. It's just surviving. Yeah, it's just surviving for as long as you can. That's the point of it.
wow, wow.
Um, yeah, you can assign jobs to your team. So someone can be a cook, so you can learn to cook. You can be a mechanic. Someone can learn how to like mend cars, fix cars, things like this. Um, you know, fisherman, tailor, outdoorsman, like whatever you want, you can do. Very hyper realistic. Classic example of an indie game absolutely smashing it, even though
Mm,
there's no graphics, there's really no, I mean, there's very minimal story, but it's
mm.
literally just innovative gameplay, um, and just fun.
Dude, I love this. Like, so many zombie
Oh,
survival games like Left 4 Dead and State of
yeah.
Decay, they're like FPS realistic, but just seeing and hearing you describe all those mechanics, I feel like this would immerse you in the world. You wouldn't even notice
Yeah,
the graphics because
absolutely.
you'd be like, no, no, I'm
Dude.
in the zombie world. Like, I've got to look
Yeah,
over my shoulder
yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of like 3D isometric view. I know I've never played this, but just hearing you talk about it makes me feel like I can see how you are totally immersed in this world because you're
Dude,
like
yeah.
freaking out about the zombies and
Yeah,
you know you've got to put your jacket on or you're just worried about the windows. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Like, is that the experience
Yeah.
you kind of had? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Like you open a window to a house and then you step in there and there's a burglar alarm and it starts going off. Mate, you
yeah.
better get the hell out of there because you're gonna get mobbed.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's such a good time. I played this with my friends. 8 hours passes in the blink of an eye
I
because
bet it does. I bet
yeah,
it does.
yeah,
You-
eight
You're
hours
surviving
pass.
at your own desk, like eating food. You're like, oh, now I've
Yeah,
got to eat real food, but don't take
yeah.
your eye off the game.
8 hours pass like this. So it's a really fun game. Viewers, if you are into the apocalypse survival, zombie survival games, this is a must. This is a must try.
Yeah, man, this is what a banger pick, man. I love it. I've not seen this or heard of it, but
Oh man,
it
we
looks
need to get
like
on it.
it just looks like something to play, you know, like late at night just to fuel those nightmares and
Woo! Yeah, exactly.
far out. Okay, so viewers and listeners, we have one more that we're going to go through. I think,
Oh,
Pat, we're just going to
beautiful.
have to do a two-parter. We're going to do a
We
two-parter.
are
So
two-parter.
we're going to do a two-parter. There's just so many great indie games. This is The Messenger by Sabotage Studios. They are also making Sea of Stars, which I know a lot of you are looking forward to releasing this year. There's a demo out already.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, this is The Messenger. Pat, this is my favorite game of all time as an indie. What else do I need to say? Done. Finish the podcast. Okay, for real, this is literally like my favorite indie game. It is incredible. For those of you who played Ninja Gaiden as I did as a kid,
Mhm.
this was like the rebirth of that series, but look, honestly, way much better. Modern conveniences.
Mhm.
So, how do I describe this game? It's a bit of a Metroidvania. It's really a 2D action platformer to start with. It feels this is a game kind of like Metroid Dread for me, and I'm not the biggest Metroidvania fan,
Hmm.
but this is a game that just feels amazing in its moment to moment gameplay, and it's the kind of game that I put up there with games like the Mario's and all that because it's the experience that you just constantly enjoy. Like it's constantly engaging and it's constantly fun. And it might look for people looking at this going, oh gosh, you have to be super skilled. You pick it up and you actually get good real quick. And it feels great to be this really dynamic ninja flipping around, jumping around. So yeah, you play in this game, you play as the messenger, and you. There's a lot of time travel involved, but basically you need to take this scroll to like the future messenger to turn back time and stop these events, kind of thing. Um, it's got a lot of nods to other games.
Hmm.
It just feels really good to navigate. That's the one thing I just keep thinking about. The visual art style is great, really great contrasting colors. You do things like this is like your underground dungeons. This is like a time travel area. The bosses are really kind of got that Super Nintendo 2D era.
Mm.
Hit them
It
multiple
looks. I was
times
gonna
so you come
say.
down.
I've never
Yeah.
played this. It looks so like it just looks so vibrant and like
Yes.
the gameplay looks so fluid.
It is. It is. It's probably the most fluid gameplay like I've ever experienced. It just feels so good. Like you don't play it and you go, this is boring, this is slow, or this is this is a big gap, or this doesn't work. You don't. It doesn't feel like that. You're just moving around really seamlessly, and it
Yeah.
feels fantastic. Um, it's also got like absolutely hilarious writing. It's right up there with Golf Story in terms of how
So
funny
jokes.
it is.
Yeah.
So you constantly visit the shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper is kind of like the developer who's like just telling you these stories and like
Yeah.
yeah, so good. Like for example, like you get like a grapple hook in this game, like you do in lots of games to move around. But in this game, it's called like the rope dart. Like like
Yeah.
everything is deliberately nodded to. Like it's like we know we're
Hmm.
ripping something off, but we're calling it our own thing, and they joke around with that. Probably the thing that makes this game stand out. Like I would love this as a 2D action platformer already, but what it does is it transitions between 8-bit and 16-bit, and it's incredible when it happens because it's like a real time
Really?
jump in the game. Yeah, so you'll be playing 8-bit, and then later in the game, so this is all the 8-bit stuff. You'll
Hmm.
transition into the future, which is in the same area through this portal, and it's 16-bit. So everything reappears as 16-bit, so it's more detailed, more vibrant.
Mm.
The clouds in the background are more detailed, for example. So this is the 8-bit stuff. And then it
Hmm.
pulls this magic trick, which isn't really a spoiler because the developers put it in their trailers and all that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So yeah, it's so here's the time transition thing. See there, it's like that jump to that, more
Oh,
beautiful graphics, and you're like,
that's big.
so the genius of that is like it's gone from Nintendo to a Super Nintendo game, but it
Yeah.
plays the exact same. So you don't feel like it's all convoluted or have to relearn controls. It just jumps between the two, and it looks stunning. Oh gosh, look,
This
honestly,
is on the
anyone out there
Switch?
who, if you're into Metroidvanias, you're into ninja games, you're into action platformer games. For those of you who didn't grow up with these games and were like, I just can't see myself playing a basic, simple indie game, I really urge you to give this game a go. This is a game you can just pick up and you're suddenly going, I'm loving this. It is a lot of fun. Um, I have to say,
It's
like
on
on our
Switch. Hey,
yeah, it's on the Switch. It's on everything. So it's yeah, it's good on Switch. It's on everything. Look, I'm not going to rant all day because this is literally my favorite indie game. I can't wait to see whether they do a Sea of Stars, which is going to be quite different. We did have an article on our website about this if you want to know more, like just about this, like just about why we love it, all that kind of thing. So check that out on the Perth Gaming Crew website. But Pat, I think so before Pat and I did this episode, we were like, we have got a lot of indie
a
games to talk
lot.
about.
Yeah.
We're going two-parter. What do you reckon, dude?
Two-parter. Let's do it.
Two-parter People of Perth and beyond. We are going to bring out the second party the next time we do a recording or shortly after. We know there are so many indie games that we all want to
So
cover. There's
many.
one that I would dying to mention, Hunt Down, but we're gonna have to wait for that. Pat, you had a few in your mind that you wanted
I
to give us a
do.
sneak
I
peek of, or
do.
we're gonna save those? Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh man, there are so many, like there's actually so many indie games that have
Hmm.
come out that are just that's just amazing. Like just
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And they're all genres. So um
Yeah.
yeah, the most recent one that's come out that's getting a lot of favorable reviews.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um Little game called Dave the Diver. That's so I like
Tell us a little
it's
bit
just
about Dave the Diver.
He's a diver. It sounds so silly,
Dave
but
the
and
Diver.
the gameplay actually is also even silly too, because it's a casual single player slash adventure slash RPG. Basically, what it is you play as Dave the diver. During the day and the afternoon, you are exploring this area called Blue Hole, which is like just deep sea exploration. So you're
It
just
keeps
literally
things simple,
diving
doesn't it? Like
around.
Dave the Diver and Blue
Yeah,
Hole.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's what it is. You've got it up now. So yeah, you're just exploring. So many things to do. As you can see, the graphics are beautiful.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, this is an indie game. However, I
Hmm.
believe that the company that did it is a subsidiary of the massive company Nexon.
Hmm.
Um, but it is still classified as an indie game because I don't think they got any backings or anything from Nexon. It's just a subsidiary. Um, but by day you are doing this, you're finding out, exploring Bluehole, and by night you friggin' manage a sushi restaurant.
No,
What
that
the
is
hell
so
is
cool.
that? Yeah.
Who does
So
that?
yeah, what the hell is that? So anyway, you go around Blue Hole finding ingredients for your sushi restaurant, and then there's so many elements to it. Like as you can see there's like mini games for making your sushi restaurant flourish. You can build it up. There's like food critics that come into your shop, so you have to impress them. You can learn new recipes. It's so like I was like, how the I couldn't even fathom how like it's just so
How did you even
random,
come up with
but
this idea, and how
yeah.
do you mesh diving with sushi shop and make it fun? But this game
Yeah.
is like wildly like performing well,
Oh,
and people are
oh
loving it.
mate,
Like it
man, it
looks
is.
so good.
Yeah, and this is like you fight bosses and stuff like that. Like you can upgrade Dave's equipment so you can like be stronger when you're exploring Blue Hole. Um, Dude, it's just
Blue
this
hole,
is a prime
sorry.
example. Yeah,
They've really gone
this
to town
is.
with the naming conventions. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say this is a prime example of like just gameplay and
Hmm.
innovation.
Hmm.
Um, beating graphics and just
Hmm.
absolute funny, I guess.
And
Like,
it still looks good. Like you would probably play this over a lot of AAA
oh
games that you're just
yeah,
like, oh, I've seen it all, I've
absolutely.
done it all. It doesn't, this looks great.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. Um, Confession: I haven't actually. I own it. I haven't actually played it, so I might get onto it before we do our two-parter of our indie game, just so I can actually excessively talk about it. But
No, no, man, that's awesome. Like, yeah, I'd heard of this game. I haven't got it yet. I might have to get it too. It looks so good, dude. Like,
yeah,
I
and
don't
again,
even. Yeah, it looks
so
really cool.
yeah, again, price point
Hmm.
for this game
Hmm.
is a third less than friggin' something like Redfall.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why would you go
Redfall
for
was
Redfall when you?
Redfall's coming out at like 99, $110. I think this game is like $25. Like,
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
and that's a higher priced indie game.
Yeah, that's no, like go for it. And it's like I've only heard a little bit of this game, and it's kind of like I don't know who this is for, but this is kind of like a lot of the games we've talked about already, where you can play it and have a lot of fun, even if you're not into diving yourself
Yeah,
or you're not running a
yeah,
sushi restaurant.
yeah,
Live the
exactly.
dream and actually have a fun time doing it. Like it doesn't look like it's a chore. It doesn't look dull. It looks like you could just really like sink your teeth into this game kind of thing. Like just oh my
Nice.
god, go down a rabbit hole and yeah, really have a lot of fun. This is an awesome pick, dude. Like that's awesome. I love it.
All the picks we had today are awesome. Like the
Yeah.
Messenger, I've never played that. I think like I'm gonna pick it up.
We have amazing taste, people of Perth. That's all we're saying. If you want to ask us how good we are, just ask us. We'll tell you. But that is all we have for today's episode. It is a part one. We were going to just do indies and then move on to something else, but there's so many good ones.
So many good ones.
I will, spoiler alert, I will put Shovel Knight in my
Yes.
next. Like, yeah, Shovel Knight's coming. There's, oh my god, there's heaps. We've got to save them. We've got to save them, Pat. We're gonna cover them in our next episode. But yeah, Gamers and Beyond. Go play the indie games. Great palate cleanser in between the big AAA
Support,
stuff. Don't forget
support
them.
your
With
independent.
Spider-Man, Street Fighter, Diablo 4,
Yep.
Starfield, whatever's coming out. Go play those games, but play your indie game palette cleanser. They're just so good. Pat, did you have anything else for the people of Perth and beyond?
That was pretty much it. Just we love indie games here. Support local. We love supporting the smaller companies. That's what we do here at Perth Gaming Crew. We love to love games, and we want everyone to do well, as we've mentioned in the past. We're agnostic here. We want everybody to do well. We want everybody to have fun, because that's the bottom line.
That's true. Very true. And look, for those of you who have made an indie game or are making an indie game now, we'd love to have you on the show. We still have our website. You can contact us on our contact form at perthgamingcrew.com. People have been asking for us to cover indie games, so we're going to keep doing it. That's all from us for this week. Have a great rest of the week.